Okay. We're ready. Kathy, you're good? Yes. Okay, we're ready. Okay, good. All right, old business. Update on wire communications RFP.
Hey, the RFP, I reached out to 7 different potential consultants. 4 of them at this point have gotten the RFP. The deadline for them to respond is September 29th. I spoke to 2 of the consultants, another one I'll be speaking with tomorrow morning, just to give them some basics up front. And see where it goes from there. I tried to be as inclusive as I could be. You know, when you Google municipal wireless telecommunications master plan, there's not a whole lot out there. So I tried to look at every firm that I came across website to see what they did. If all they did was install infrastructure, they weren't the person for us. And even if somebody was involved in planning as well, and who didn't represent the industry. So we'll see what we get back.
Did we ask the firm that did the survey?
No.
Or, I know, no, I know they wouldn't be the right firm to do what we're looking for in this RFP. Did we ask them if they knew any? Or would that be appropriate to talk to them?
No, I did not ask them, but we are asking the potential consultant to look at what they submitted, and if they see any shortcomings in it, we should make recommendations for how to do that differently.
I think that's an important point, but we don't want the new consultant to be redoing that survey in the sense that driving around again.
Yeah, and let's say come back and say, listen, it's not valid. Horrible.
Unless they know in some way it was valid.
Nobody's told me that yet.
No.
But I thought maybe RJM might have a list of somebody that Reed hasn't found.
Yeah, there aren't many out there. That have
Okay.
ties to the industry.
We did find out in an earlier discussion what E911 compared to 911.
Enhanced.
It's enhanced and it calls you, and if you move your phone, it calls you. It's a good thing. Just by way of information, we were talking about that, we brought up that with 911, you can actually text, not call. And that's important in situations where you're locked in a closet somewhere on the shooting basis. So, any other things on the RFC? Review of CEC 10-year stormwater O&M plan and budget.
Budget's a big one.
Yeah, it's $10,016,074 somewhere. Thoughts, discussion.
Well, I appreciate you forwarding that article earlier. And wait to see what happens there.
It's on the stormwater.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are some local considerations. We have a lot of things at issue with that case. I mean, that is, a question that hasn't been answered as stormwater authorities. We remember that this is a home rule charter community that imposed a stormwater management fee, assessed it on the local college.
Recording in progress.
The Commonwealth Court said, no, it's a tax, not a fee. Therefore, they were exempt and immune from it. And so was a question, well, is that only for tax immune entities versus tax exempt entities like churches, schools, et cetera, et cetera. It has been accepted for allowance of appeal by the Supreme Court. There's a lot of the article I sent around was some of the briefs that have been filed, the weakest parties as well, PSATs and others. A lot of communities that do this. there's a question that's still open because if it is a tax and a stormwater authority imposes one, does that change the analysis? They aren't a taxing entity. They can only do a fee for services, providing some level of services. So that's another open question. But in general, the infrastructure is still aging. You know, we've got the survey that shows how everything is in place, at least in a temporary basis, while those issues on a stormwater fee are somewhat opened up with the discussion and figuring out how this comes into play in your general fund budget and your budget, your general funds, and this sort of plan of attack of going regionally through the borough and hitting areas as opposed to the emergency repair basis that we can operate in.
I mean, I really think we need to seriously consider getting the stormwater authority in place and sending out key letters based on the recommendations from an engineer. We're just gonna drown, literally.
Yeah, I agree. We don't have a choice. We have to move ahead with this.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be a major problem. And if we can't get a stormwater fee imposed of some kind, we'll have to bite the bullet, and that dirty word taxes may have to change. I think we have to go.
I think we have to do it, and if something happens up, Supreme Court does something that alters, and then so be it, but I still think you're right, we have to move ahead.
When I look at some of those pictures and I see 12 foot-sized rocks inside
Yeah.
that's a problem.
So, yeah,
I don't understand how they got there. Water's amazing.
That's gonna have a big impact on the budget from here, and we're probably tripling what we normally spend.
Absolutely right. Our current, from my vantage point, our current revenue base does not cover.
That's
$1 million.
without, it's without MS4 as well, which
Absolutely.
we're not gonna tackle any of our projects this year, it looks like. So we're talking
kicking that down, or kicking that can down.
2 million next year, we have to spend on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, 20%, really 20%.
So Max, we have enough information from the engineers to assess people with stormwater fees if we set up our authority.
I don't believe, I mean, this.
We have a
study-
preliminary
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't go to
fee
that
study
level,
that
but
CEC did for us.
this was more of a, what is the universe of issues survey, what can be seen, some projections is what couldn't be accessed or otherwise. At least you do know the repair cost and 10-year sort of plan would be
Yeah,
the stormwater authority is created, there's your template, and
right.
initial decisions are spelled out, but what that actual fee looks like in terms of a survey of what everybody else is doing on a dwelling unit or square footage basis. That would be something for the authority to
Got it.
figure out.
So what are
Yeah,
next steps?
That's actually CEC's preliminary report
Yeah.
has a lot of that information in it.
Yeah, I read it.
So I think it's taking this and applying it to that, and the recommendation of what we should do.
Right, what would be the assessment?
We also have to decide where we make up the authorities. Because I guess the authority ultimately will decide what that is. We need to do that soon.
And we started, I mean, I have the ordinance that creates municipal authority for stormwater is not too involved, but there are the decision of board members, how many you're going to have. You name your initial board in the ordinance, you have a public hearing on it,
The
et
elected
cetera, et
ones.
cetera. No, they're appointed by the
Oh.
borough, right? And it can be a joint authority. That's something that comes out of comp plans in Ohio Township. No, all right. Maybe.
takers.
Oh, nobody wants to join.
Well,
Well, it doesn't, you're not married to that structure right now. Years from now, there's a desire to expand some of those discussions we've been having about Camas Franklin Park Ambulance Authority. Translate to that could get other municipalities involved. I don't know, I've just run into any, sort of like Westview Water, which, has this board, it's appointed by Westview, but has grown so big and it's just gobbled up service areas. If any stormwater authorities have gone that route, having sort of customer municipalities, that could be a newer
They all may
concept.
be in trouble.
I guess I
It goes the wrong way.
Well, they
think there
are, so,
I think there, in
For
some parts
stormwater?
of Pennsylvania, there might be authorities that are regional.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, it could be regional and then members, appointees, or are they essentially customers? PWSA has grown into these bigger, Alcoasand, it's just Allegheny County and the city of Pittsburgh that are appointing members. Sliver in the service area, so they're subject to their rates. I'm not sure if stormwater authorities have grown to that level yet. To say we created one and some analyst comes in and says, oh, you'd like to fall under your umbrella, but not.
Because we have this great
And at this
history
point-
working.
This point, McCandless wouldn't do that because they are in Rollins Township and they don't have to create an authority.
Yeah,
They can just do what
their
Pine
thing.
does,
Their
their
own.
own student fee.
Yeah,
It's much cheaper though.
Yeah.
And you also don't have to have this fee take effect January 1st, for example, it can take effect July 1st of next year. If you wanted to, or whatever time frame you look at, so that you have a chance to let everyone know what's happening.
so next steps are.
We need to compare the ordinance,
You're right.
figure out the number of members on the board and who would be the appointees, who stagger the first 5 years or so. Somebody does a 1-year term, a 2-year term, a 3-year term, and then it all catches up.
Right.
Everybody does 4 or 5-year terms. And yes, then as part of that, you have a public hearing, enact the ordinance, send it to the Department of State Corporations Division, essentially incorporate the authority, and they're off and running. That's the process for creating one. Those other questions about operating agreements or sharing of services, using, public works,
That can come later.
those come, when they are part of the decision. Once they are created, they're having that first meeting, how do they advertise it? They never had a meeting before, or don't vote, do anything.
Yeah,
They work through this.
and then they'll need a solicitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we put the word out? We can. The point, we are looking for volunteers for the board. Is that how-
Yeah, I mean, you could do it that way in terms of our, A, word of mouth, but B, on our
Yeah, that's right, yeah,
webpage, we
right.
have those open. You can look through the ones you have on file right now, and, nobody checked Stormwater Authority, but
Also,
reach out to them and see if they have any interest.
the folks that are already volunteering for are they prevented from doing stormwater?
Don't believe so. No,
So
you
if
can
they've already
certainly-
volunteered, but we want to check with people to see if they're volunteering, this is we want to volunteer for that.
I think we need to get the ordinance.
Well, he said we need a board member, we need the board member to get the ordinance.
Name,
I always
put it
agree with
in
you,
the
John, but
ordinance.
he's saying that you've got to get it all combined and then pass it. So we need to get people who are volunteering for the board and then do the ordinance.
What did we say, 6? Is that that we thought before?
No, because then you
It's
would have a.
terrible, you don't want that, you want 5, you want, yeah.
5 cents.
Of employees, yes or no?
I mean, there's no bar in Municipalities Authorities Act respect, as long as they are a resident or business owner in the service area. Right, so somebody that lived in Shaler would be, that might be a question, but it's pretty open in terms of who can be on an authority board. Not as many conflicts as you have. So hearing board members.
Right. So it could include council members, too, employees, any law where residents communicate.
I would volunteer if you're looking for volunteers.
Okay.
Okay,
Who selects the board?
Council.
Council.
Through both the
I'll
articles of
volunteer if
incorporation,
anybody
have
You just have to
everybody.
abstain from interviewing.
I can't interview myself, probably twisted.
So So council needs to vote on that when we have the full list.
So in the latest newsletter, we have the article about looking for board members. But you said we don't list that on the website, so we just.
Yeah, we'll need to do a couple last things, I think, stuff to get the word out. Too late for this meeting.
But we have the usual November 15th deadline is in that order. Go by that, but
This would probably open up. People like this, that's.
Yeah, and there is no requirement like, UCC board, you have to have one architect, one engineer, one that's completely different specifics. This is similar to other boards. There is nothing absolutely required in the makeup, but of course, you have some background, either in government or boards or engineering, development, things like that. That would be valuable when you're dealing with hidden.
Any other comments, thoughts?
Just one, maybe just an update on where are we at on the field surveying, not as far as the condition, but just locating the structures. I mean, do we have it pretty well mapped out what's out there, or are we still? I know we haven't cambered, a couple percent of the whole borough, but
We're not actively locating any additional structures. We just did a small sample size to one, get an idea for how much might be missing,
okay.
and also get a feel for the condition of what it might be.
Okay, I raised it, because I'm not that familiar with all the structures. I do know that most of what's been problematic in my area, it doesn't even show up on there, like the one I was late for the council meeting the one night because of the sinkhole. It's a big 48-inch line under the road, it's not even shown on the drawings. The concrete one that runs all the way from there down isn't shown. The one that collapsed on Wexford Run isn't shown. Remember where the garbage truck or something hit it? So there's a lot of infrastructure that, and I only know that just living in that particular valley in that area. So that's why I was curious where we were at. I thought
I think that's part of what we want this fee to pay for is.
some of that investigation.
Yeah, I think what there was, we have recorded 200,000 feet, if I recall correctly, and there's an estimate that maybe there's 300,000 feet. And actually, in reality.
That's correct.
So I think that the fee that we collect be used for both maintenance and discovery purposes. Sometimes it would be used for both because you find you've got an issue, we're working on it, then you discover you've got it, right?
I
That's
think
what
we
we do
have
with the
sufficient
coordinated.
information
Yeah.
to determine whether or not we want this piece of West
Yeah.
End money now.
Yeah, that's right. I think we should just go with the fact that there's at least 200,000, that we know there's probably 300, and just go.
The night of spending money.
So is it 5 or 7 more than? Because we will want to get this out there.
And I don't know if the survey to that level, what other authorities, the stormwater side have. I mean, this 5, pretty good, if you can get that much interest, 7, yeah, we're not big enough that, we've
Seems
got a
like
bunch
5.
of other areas.
5, and then also alternates if you actually got some interest, right? Because then you can protect your quorum. Yeah,
I don't know if there's a provision
For-
in municipal.
that would
authorities
prevent alternatives.
That doesn't have, it's
Okay.
not like NBC. and,
Okay.
Others allow it. but Trying to rack my head of thinking any alternates and any other authorities.
The one unusual thing that I thought was unusual, the Westview Water.
Yeah.
Which we have where I live.
Sure.
I guess it covers a lot of Franklin Park and all of it. They, a couple of years back, they switched from quarterly billing to monthly. And I mean, talk about the paperwork and mailing of the bills and all that. And I never really researched, what I heard, it was because the cash flow thing, they couldn't they couldn't bankroll
The quarters, yeah.
the
right.
quarterly thing. I mean, but the amount of extra paperwork and setting up accounts and mailing paper bills out every month rather than every 3 months, I think operationally was.
Well, yeah, and I think, well, at least with the authority and they're looking at other examples, and typically it is we're talking to the dwelling units, $8 per month, and you pay it like that, or you pay it all at one time in February for the year, get a bit of a discount, and would get usually an influx of cash in February. But if somebody said, I want the monthly, you're sending out $8 bills.
I would
Do you even have
definitely,
to send the bills? Like I know, you get your school district tax, they don't, if they send you your stub, you can pay it. They don't send you follow-up bills. I don't know if that's mandated.
I mean, it could be similar to
they're
other
not chasing.
service charges. And it's not.
They can't go
Right.
monthly. You can move the payday, but I don't think you can go ask North Allegheny to go you monthly.
There are installment plan, under the 2005 change, you can request a form of an installment plan for, real estate taxes, but this is a completely separate animal, that has different collection requirements.
When you're looking at Westview Water, they have an auto pay feature, which is awesome. You just, so boom, they just hit it once a month and then get a thing saying.
Yeah, I'm registered in that.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
they still send you a note.
They do.
email
Tell
or
them.
anything. It still seems like a lot more.
It is, but also you're doing it on water consumption, so that's changing every month, once every quarter, this would be $8.
Yeah.
That's fees, or people just pay.
If it's not paid, does it go to a side filing? It's the same as any other.
I mean, it'd be a utility, under that municipality authority.
Yeah. So it'd just be a lien on the house until it got transferred.
Yeah, it's unlike, you don't have shut off powers, I don't think you can link it to your water. Plug up their pipes,
We're not taking your stormwater anymore.
Sandbag.
That would solve the problem.
Literally.
It would. You're not cooperating, so here's your sandbags, yeah.
The reason they switched to monthly, part of it is, the bills are larger. Must be raised rates considerably. If they had kept it quarterly, a person getting a $75 bill would then have gotten $130 bills. So what they had done is they baked in future reserves into the monthly bills. So a person getting a $45 or $40 bill every month, receiving that as a lot, that's more digestible than getting like a quarterly bill of $150. So that was part of the reason they did that. So
It's been quarterly. I mean, I've lived there for 45 years.
I
And they
understand.
changed it like 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, so it's been quarterly forever.
I think they would have gotten a lot of calls and people would have flipped if they had just kept it quarterly and also baked in the prepaids. I think for like something what we're trying to do here, if it's $100 a year or something like what Hampton does, I mean, you could probably send it out yearly they send theirs with a property tax bill. It's kind of the same time.
But I think we should try to do it
Align
on a
it.
yearly basis.
Yeah,
Because it's not gonna be, we don't know what it's gonna be yet, but I'm gonna assume it's not.
The authority.
The authority, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
whatever.
But I don't think the division is significant compared to property taxes and other.
oh no.
I think it's, and then MTSA, which I'm also in, they stay quarterly.
Yeah,
And they're almost as much as the water. In fact, they might be more than the water.
That happens when you fill a pool at the beginning of the season, then the MTSA assumes that water was then put into their system, even though it's in a big tub.
But when the monthly bill is currently equal what the quarterly used to be, it's time to go monthly.
Yeah. Well, those are details, I'm sure that authority when it's formed will get into it.
Okay, any other comments on that? Max, regular meeting agenda.
All right. The agenda here, no scheduled public hearings. We do have the resolution on the joint comprehensive plan. The night before, the planning commission will be doing one last blessing of the comp plan. There were some minor revisions, I believe, that were made after the public hearing. Those have been reflected in this updated plan. It will be dated September 20th, same date as the meeting, and as Laura explained last time, Ohio Township already voted on theirs back in August. It has its own date. These changes here will be reflected in our version that will become our official comp plan. We've got that. With respect to 1340, that is just our sort of standard sewage facility planning module for an on-lot system, a small flow treatment facility that is required. We'll also be doing an agreement with their servicer / inspector and the borough to be reported against the property and put up a financial security to cover the cost of it going bad or not working. So that will be separately signed and final. Motion 7, we wanted to talk about a little bit after, I think, what was it that we were looking at this, and it was like 2021.
It's like 2022, the behind the scenes civic rec payment processing, mostly it's the residents that pay with their credit card with Zach's system. They had reached out to me in like late 2021, early 2022 and said, you have to switch, like the deadline's in a month. And so I started the process with Max way back when, and you get those weird feelings. I'm like, is this really legit? Like, do I really have to switch? And so we went back and forth with their legal team and got the documents, but then they sort of like never followed up. So I thought, well, I'm not going to follow up then if they're not forcing me to change. Well, so fast forward to like August 2023, she reached back out and she's like, okay, the deadline's really September 30th. Oh, okay, so we do have to switch, but turns out their timeline was way long. So, but now they want us to switch. It's just a back-end processor switch from Braintree to a different processor. Civic's not using the old one, they're using this. So, but there's some testing involved. So they told me if we don't actually have it all done by September 30th, that people will not be able to pay anything online. So I was just hoping council would approve for reach to sign it this week so we can send it to them and get all the testing. The testing takes like a week and a half or it goes live, I guess.
And they accepted all of our red lines from January 2022, which weren't extensive. We weren't going to change most of it, but there was still personal guarantee on this one, or social security numbers for individual employee credit checks or
Any children.
Yeah.
Too easy.
So that's motion 7. We have it in the form of a ratification, unless council would rather we change that to an authorization and we just hold off until September 20th. Council
You better go ahead now.
Yeah.
On favor? Okay.
Do it as a ratification. Our 2 ordinances are being introduced. Things are moving along swimmingly with phase 3 of Squire Ridge Plan and LaPlace Point / Taylor Ridge. You will see Taylor Ridge did approach us because it has been so long that we've been holding a very large financial security for them, and requested because they have other financing that they want to do by the end of September. Would we essentially a month early release the performance security we've been holding as part of the reviews that Sean's been doing, getting them to this point? The usual process is to do it the same motion or the same meeting that we actually accept the ordinance. But we told them, if you will sign and return the maintenance agreement, which we got, all right. Because that's something we're always looking for. You come current on all your bills. We did. That if they got all that in place by the 19th, we would have these 2 motions on. But so they have. And we also told them to put essentially 19 months of maintenance instead of 18 months, because everything runs from the ordinance acceptance and adoption date. But they agreed to all of that. So they have handed it in. be secured under the maintenance agreement for this month, and then the 18 months starting next month. For everything in there. That's by motion 9 and 10 are on your agendas.
There will be more later. Questions from Max? So, report, Cindy.
Okay. Everybody has my written report. I do have a few things. You did receive the MMOs. I think we're in everyone's packets. The current MMOs, which we will need to sign by the end of September. They are based on the 1/1/2021 valuation. I spoke with Mock and Hop. They are waiting for us to hopefully finalize our restatement of our general plan before they do our 1/1/23 valuation. And then they can provide us with revised MMOs by the end of the year. And, you know, it's always better if you can have the MMOs.
It's gonna be different.
And it's going to be different. So we have a pension committee meeting the end of September. I think we're close, but it's been a while since we've met, so although it won't be formally adopted, if we meet at that meeting and we feel comfortable with changes, Mock and Hop will then do the 1/1/23. They just don't want to go through the
Right, not knowing what the provisions are.
not knowing what the provisions are. So, but the current MMOs look okay. Actually, the police MMO went down from last year. We had another officer drop, so that takes down the payroll dollars. We had a couple open positions this year, so not gonna rehire that. Those payroll dollars don't look good too. So they look okay as of now. So we'll sign them because we have to by the end of September. But then as long as we get revised ones by 12/31, we'll be okay. But that will be dictated on if we can get the restatement done. Or I guess it's up to council. If we can't get the restatement done, we could have Mock and Hop do it, but.
Yeah,
but just
we
maybe
have to
double
budget that exact amount as well, so
Right,
we want to have it done before we adopt the budget, or we would have to amend the budget. Changes.
Right.
well, it's net of the reserves we get from the state too. On the budget, net. We'll get a payment from the state.
Which will come next, right? We'll get a
But
payment
on
in
the,
September.
but on the expense side, we have to budget the entire MMO as an expense. So we plan, right?
I think we'll be good. The pension committee meets September 22nd, so if we have good due diligence and don't have too many problems with that and agree, then I think they can get it done. But time will tell a little bit. So that's the MMOs. The other thing I wanted to update council on,
Before we move on.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I read those this afternoon, and one thing that jumped out, and I didn't have time this afternoon to pull out last year's and the years before, the percent, as a payroll contribution is significantly different between general employees and the police. I mean, it's significant, yeah, 7.5%, one is 18. So
That's the normal cost percentage you're talking about. Tom.
Yeah. Just says normal cost, the first item under there. And I don't know if that's always been that much of a difference. I just didn't remember that jumping out at me in previous years.
That's explained by the virtue of the fact that the benefits for the police pension plan and the retirement ages are far different than the general employees pension plan. They're much more substantial, considerably more substantial, especially given the retirement age population. So that will always be that way.
It'll always be higher for the employees.
Yeah, considerably.
Yeah, I meant to pull out last year's and try to look at them. I ran out of time this afternoon. I just thought I'd throw that out, but that was quite a difference.
The percentages will vary within the plan, but the comparison will probably remain pretty steady.
I just wanted to be sure that there wasn't disconnect there.
There is an explanation.
Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So the other thing I just wanted to update council was just sort of the year projections. We had the mid-year budget review and we talked about where we were at. So I took a quick look. August just ended yesterday. So as of right now, it looks like we'll be in a slightly favorable position to where we were going to be at June 30. So I know the one thing that we talked about was the EIT dollars, the revenue that was coming in, and I presented in June that we were tracking slightly off. We're actually not tracking slightly off, we're tracking about $100,000 ahead of last year. I forgot about when I pulled the data, is we're now on the accrual basis versus the cash basis. So about $600,000 of cash that we received earlier this year didn't flip to revenue, it offset accounts receivable. So at the end of this year in December, we will book revenue for earned income tax that we haven't received yet, but we've earned. So from a revenue standpoint, from a true cash standpoint, we're ahead by about a couple $100,000. So that should flow through to the end of the year. So yeah, we're in the different phases of accounting now, so we can't.
Curl's a much truer way.
Exactly.
Long range
Exactly.
for planning purposes. Yeah.
Right.
It's the right way to go.
Something arrives 2 days after the end of the month, have a huge impact.
Exactly. So from a revenue standpoint, I had projected, like 10.8, now we're looking at a little over 11 million. Expenses, I did have some things go down because I met with Region, I both met with the department heads working on their 2024 capital items. So some of the things that they thought we were gonna purchase in the balance of this year, we're gonna postpone into next year. I still project us having a deficit of, about $1.8 million by the end of this year, but Region, I haven't sat down to talk about any MS4 projects that won't be happening. So next week I'll be sending out 2024 budget worksheets to everybody. So, starting with the October budget hearing, that will start us on we talk about this all the time. From then till the end of the year, to look at next year. So I just wanted to keep everybody updated. Let me think. Sorry, I have other things. The only other thing I have is the tax provided a memo to council on based on their recommendations on password managers, and two-factor authentication, which I believe, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, that's all those things are sort of for our cybersecurity insurance. So I just didn't know if council has any questions back to the TAP. We have a meeting tomorrow.
No, I was interested in anything, but excuse me, but that was, I don't know.
I mean, I think we don't need a council vote on that. I think that's something you're doing administratively internally, correct?
Yeah, all due respect, the minimum to get cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't want to be changing our password.
That's all I have.
Go ahead.
The other thing I have to add to my report is, we finished paving, Man's Road, Wyman Road, and Hopkins Church Road, and we're gonna go back, we're gonna get into sealing, doing all the backfilling along the streets and stuff there too, so. The only other thing we have for paving would be the Sturbridge plan. They still have some concrete work that's gotta be done there. If it falls, even when the concrete work's going there, it falls to where we have to mill it towards the end of the month there. We're probably gonna go ahead with the milling, let them continue to work on their concrete. We can do some, like Gloucester, we can do, Brimfield Court, we can pave those and then finish out on Sturbridge once we're done with the concrete. There's, the only other thing I have to add to it is, since we're talking about money here, we sat with the comprehensive plan the other day, the 5-year plan. It's just a question to council here on what I can possibly do here to buy these trucks that we have, the big trucks that we have. I'm looking to put some in the budget for like 25, 26, 27, possibly 3 years in a row. Because we got 3 trucks that are going to be getting to the point where we're going to have to change them. We're looking in the area right now from anywhere from $200,000 to $220,000 per truck. Okay, the only thing reason why I'm bringing this up is for 2025, to order a truck, it's going to take us 2 years. So we got to put orders in early. So for us to get a truck in 2025, I'm gonna have to put an order in probably sometime here shortly. Get
What
this truck in
what kind of truck you
2025.
talking about? What truck are you talking?
One of the big trucks that we have, we call them 10 tons or 40,000 GVW trucks, single axle plow trucks, the plows, you know, the beds, spreaders. Yeah, the price of these things are just going through the roof. I mean, the last one we bought was, I think, 167,000. Now they're 200, same trucks at 200,000. I was looking possibly even maybe going into a different style truck because we've been running into problems with these internationals. A lot of places I've talked to with Peterbilts and stuff like that, they're not having problems with those trucks, but they are more money. So it's something to look for, something that, you know, like I said, if we order this truck, we don't have to take 2 years down the road. But we got to get the order in to fall in line. You get these orders in to fall in line for the build, get them built, you know, the time. So I just, you know, that's our heart and soul when we get into the winter time. And, you know, when we get into replacing these things, anywhere from 12 to 15 years old, which we have 2 of them that are falling, you know, 2 of them that are 11 years old right now. You know, they're going to start falling apart pretty quickly. So
Don't have to pay for it now, once pay for it until
Right, yeah.
delivery. We don't,
yeah,
on a real basis, we don't have to recognize it.
yeah. So 2025 is going to be when it's going to be, you know, right. It won't even have, it won't be put in the budget for 2020 for next year. So, but it's just,
Good input.
it's a question to ask council on, you know, if I'm gonna be allowed to go ahead and possibly order these, you know, start ordering, you know, what they're trucking.
You gotta do it.
Years ahead of time, just to get them in, just to get them in place.
Would it be worth investigating how much more the Peterbilt would be and how much longer life or lower operating costs might be expected to see it? I mean, I agree we should proceed with the orders, but maybe we should evaluate long term, because what are you getting, 10 years out of these?
We're getting probably 12, anywhere from 12 to 15,
Okay.
somewhere in the area, 12 to 15 years, depending. The Peterbilts are, they're aluminum bodies on them. Bodies are holding up, I think, a little bit longer than the body styles on them. We have more problems like in the frames, all the undercarriage and stuff, just the salt just eating away in the wintertime. No matter what you do, you can wash them every day and it just, you know, they just slowly deteriorate. The problem we're having, the internationals, they have a lot of, any other option we can look into is when we buy them, we put extended warranties on them for the emissions part of it. Problem we're having with the internationals is this DEF fluid, the diesel exhaust fluid, the injectors that they use for injecting this stuff into the exhaust systems. It's just creating a lot of problems. We're having trucks towed. We had a truck towed last week. It was $600 just to get the truck towed to international. We can't even take care of these problems. You have to go, they have to put the pieces on the truck, then they have to reprogram computers. We can't afford to just even buy the equipment to do this stuff because you just can't keep up with all the new updates on this. So you have to go back to the dealers. It's getting to the point where, you know, a lot of stuff's going strictly to the dealers. We got to actually just to throw something else out there. I mean, these new police cars and stuff. And, there's now on the emergency brakes on these, and when you change the brakes on these, you have to have special release things through the computer to release the brake, you know, to release these, to reset them, put the new brakes and stuff back in position. They actually have to be sent back to Ford to have them reprogrammed to be able to get the brake jobs on stuff. It's getting crazy. It's just the computer stuff that's out there is just getting out of hand. Internationals, like I said, they've been giving us a lot of trouble. So that's why I'm kind of looking either possibility of a Mac or a Peterbilt. I think the Max might even be a little bit higher than the Peterbilts, but you know, we're talking $20,000 difference in between an international and a Peterbilt. International right now, if I ordered one right now, it's 200,000. Peterbilt would be about 220,000.
What's the normal warranty? Gary, over here?
Normal warranties, it's like probably any 3 years, 36,000 miles, like regular cars and stuff. Some of them have extended warranties on the emission systems, things like that you can buy can actually, when you're buying them, you can spend a lot more money and get into better warranties. And so that's something we gotta possibly look into too, you know, to where, cover it. But it's still not gonna cover everything as far as towing. You know what I mean, there's other areas where it's gonna cost us money too, so.
I'm getting a lot of questions on AMR Heights, of course. What's your anticipation there?
I keep getting calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a hard, wherever down again, down that today, it's, yeah, it's bad, it's, yeah, they're gonna have to, like I said, they're gonna have to mill off that one side, to get it completely smooth, whether they're gonna leave it set like that. Now, we've talked about the reason why we kind of put off, figured, okay, let's put off the paving of that road. I've been riding down that road, there's some sink spots in it, they're sinking in quite a few areas in the road.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's driven down that road lately. You go through areas where it sinks down, probably some areas are down a foot in the road, you know, it's just dropping.
In our meeting with the contractor, they did say they were gonna take care of those issues.
Aren't they compacting?
Yeah, imagine everything's being compacted when they're, you know, putting the stuff back in,
But
but
it's
it's still
still a patch right now, so they.
full patch on the top.
Yeah, so they're gonna come back,
That's what they,
but we're not gonna pay it until next year,
Now, we were planning on, yeah, once that was done, to let it settle through the winter,
right?
pave it next year, so.
Right.
I mean, that's still like the option, maybe, you know, if they milled it off and somehow got it leveled out through the winter, let it settle again, and maybe even if there was a way that we can get Talk Rescue into maybe, because half that road is destroyed on what they did, you know, maybe they put in half the price on the paving of that road, you know. Having it milled up and repaved, you know, because they're gonna have to bring somebody in and mill it down, put binder in it, put, pop wiring course back on it, so they're gonna have a fair amount of money tied up into it too, so. I mean, it might be something that we can possibly sit down or, you know, talk to them, and see if we can get online with them, maybe they can, you know.
When the closing is still as announced, the closing from Hilliard down to.
I've seen signs up, I haven't seen
No,
anything.
we sent out the blast, they let us know that it was delayed a week,
Right, yeah, okay.
so that's when it's supposed to start, is next week, yeah.
They did tear up Hilliard really bad. It's just this one, it's just like, it's torn apart. I mean,
Well, I had a lady call me today and said that she was complaining because she said all the workers were standing on the street. They're not doing nothing, the road's a disaster. Once in a while, wondered why. Why nobody was
do that?
Why nobody was working? I said, that's Westby Water, I have no control of that.
The King James Lonely House, King John Lonely House, somebody broke into it.
I haven't read
That's a
it.
tin issue.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know.
And that's a
windows
police
are
issue.
blown out of the car.
We're working on getting rid of it.
We're working on it.
Definitely an attractive nuisance. It's getting the wrong kind of attention.
There's so much we can do about the house.
That house is full of furniture and material and.
Full of possession. Yeah, and we made it watertight, so it's not gonna have anything left on it for several more years. I did speak with him directly, but I just looked at it. It's a question of what do we do with the contents if we try to go forward with it, and I have no idea what to do at the time.
What's it boarded up since the break in?
Yeah. It's boarded up again, boarded up to security, yeah.
We know who broke into it.
We do, we identify them, juveniles, but they're gonna break into it again, the house, yeah, the car, and it's definitely a problem.
And we talked about before, but thinking if it's the same one that, we've looked at, that the issue has been, structurally sound and like we are even watertight. It isn't deteriorating in that sense. I mean, they can go through the property maintenance code and see if there are other provisions that might come into play. There is an attractive nuisance section and have evidence of actual children entering and causing problems. We could, we're working with Tim, go to that next level of potential condemnation.
I think we should. I don't know what you think, but whatever we can do, The problem is, it's like the other ones that you dealt with, they create an eyesore in the neighborhood. Now you've got police having to go deal with it. It's a mess.
And like Sergeant said, now the kids know they can break in.
Yeah, wonderful. You need that in your neighborhood, right? So the people that are living there are quite enjoying that.
They're not real happy.
No, I wouldn't think so. What about liens? Are there liens on it already?
I haven't looked at it in a
There,
while.
yeah,
but I
they
got-
usually
we
never
mow
get
the
set.
lawn.
I mean,
Well, when the lawn creates a lien, you can.
Right. because
Taxes.
tens, thousands of dollars.
Now, why don't we put a ring camera on the thing, so at least we can find out.
Well, you spend a couple $100 and.
I think we always do find out.
If we do, all we know.
I think so.
Yeah.
We have ways.
Yeah.
We have ways.
But at one point, sheriff sell the creature.
I mean, you can, usually, yeah, if the school district knows somebody's interested, they can get through the process, they can do an interested purchaser agreement, somebody says.
Sure, somebody will buy it at the right price.
Sell it,
And
bring
there's
clear
a
all
double
means.
lot there.
Yeah, as long as, I'm sure they're delinquent on their taxes too, and it's a school district ready to walk away from that. Because that's what a sheriff's sale involved. School districts say, okay, sheriff's sale's no problem, we want all of our taxes.
Yeah, you
They're
gotta.
not gonna say, give us $5 and you can buy the property cheap. They're
No,
gonna
it's
go
be a
out.
free and clear sale, and that protects also the purchaser later.
Yeah, so it's hard to get all the parties on board to say, yeah, we're willing to pennies on the dollar.
Also keep in mind, I'm getting 8 phone calls a week about Martha Crease's place not being mowed down at the house. It's an undeveloped lot that doesn't have to be mowed.
Oh,
So you're gonna have that situation there if the house does disappear, the lot's gonna be left to grow,
another one.
and that's all you're gonna get is the calls, well, I've got mice, I've got snakes, I've got, wow. So that's the other side of the coin too, even if we did take action, they're not, so. If there's a great plan where we can find somebody that wants the place and is going to commit to doing something. There might be, so I don't know what you can do with that, I'm just letting you know. You're trading one complaint for another.
Yeah.
Worried about it getting hurt though. Okay. Any other questions for Gary?
Yeah, where are we at with the, concrete curb replacement?
Oh, yeah, how much have we spent, and how much are we going to spend?
We still. Columbo's coming back in on Friday. They're gonna come back in on Friday to, start over in Starbridge. There's like 360 feet to do there. That'll put us up around, I believe right around 700 feet total being done there. And they're gonna go to, a Roll Oak and probably finish out the rest over there on Roll Oak. We got like 1,800 feet over there on Roll Oak, so.
Then you're almost, and that ends the obligation of the contract.
Yeah, if we
Okay.
can get it, yeah, we can get it down to where we're closing the
I mean, we're burning through by doing complete instead of doing another checkerboard thing.
No, we're still doing checkerboard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna look quite as bad because we opened up some areas over there to make longer stretches, so it's
It's not
not.
as big a checkerboard.
Well, it's not gonna be real close, short ones, you know.
Yeah.
Columbo's agreed to, or have they not agreed to the reduced footage?
I don't know that they need to, actually,
We're just gonna, we tell them this is it and then we're done and.
we've marked a sufficient amount, so their plan, as Gary mentioned, they'll be back Friday. They're gonna start on Sturbridge, before they move to Royal Oak, all of that, they're gonna do the sidewalks on Branch School Road. So that'll be the end of September, most likely, and then they'll move back to, finish the curve, that's less time critical, obviously, we wanna get the sidewalk done first, we wanna get them out of the way so Gary can finish it, so. We'll be back Friday, the curbs are marked.
Yeah, everything's marked. They did question that they would like to work on Saturday if possible. I don't know if council have a problem with that. He said that they like to work Saturday if possible, to just try to catch up a little bit on this.
On the curbs. For the portion, to get out of the way, so
Just to
the
get
road
that-
can be paved,
just
not
for
for the
that-
sidewalk,
Just
not
for
for
that,
the bulk of the
360 feet over there.
Sturbridge.
And he even I talked to him today, and he said that, he'd be willing to, not even use jackhammers. He'd be willing to just use, probably some cutting and doing some other stuff there to try to catch up on some areas if If the council had a problem with them working on Saturdays.
So for what? One Saturday?
It benefits us, we can have them do it on the weekend, because we're waiting for them to pay.
And there wouldn't be any additional cost.
No.
Yeah,
I think it's not. So.
for the window, the time sensitive. This isn't Saturdays for the rest of the year, it's 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, you just want to
I'm
work a
guessing.
couple, yeah.
Probably 3 weeks of Saturdays.
Lawful. Yeah, it's 9. Oh, no. 7 AM was that. 9 AM on.
We'll work on it. Yeah, we'll work on that. It's on the list, so we'll get.
Starting.
I mean, if they want to come on, maybe we could tell them 8, 9, whatever you want.
They were
Whatever you
asking
want me to
us
tell
what it
them.
was okay, so we can certainly tell them what time it's okay. We can say 9 o'clock, right? That seems reasonable.
Say 9 to 5, or however.
Yeah.
9 to 5 on Sundays, 7 to 7 on Monday through Saturday.
We're gonna get fixed then. That's no good.
I would say not.
Yeah, we need to fix that.
I'm fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Gotta
9.
get it done too.
I would say 7's no brainer. Yeah, it's too much noise, too early.
Even Kathy's.
Anything else for Gary?
Gary's question on his trucks, is there a deposit required from Borough? What are they?
For the order? No.
Yeah,
And you said they don't have to take them.
there's the obligation.
Yeah, they don't, yeah, I mentioned, I think when we were sitting in file, when I was talking with the Region Cindy the other day, I mentioned too, is there are some of these, some of the companies that sell the trucks are actually starting to put a $5,000 fee on ordering the truck and not taking it, where they can charge you. Actually, we go through Hunter's truck, and we buy our trucks through Hunter's. Hill International has it where there's a $5,000 fee on it, but then when they brought the specs out on the truck, he said, well, we'll knock this off and we'll charge you. But it's probably gonna get to the point someday that they're gonna charge you, if you don't take it, you know, but as of now, there's nothing on there. And they said you can go right down to the last minute and somebody will buy the truck. If we don't buy it, somebody will buy it.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with Tom, I think we should see how much longer they're built. If it lasts like 7 more years. Versus. What's international?
Yeah, the international.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you that avoids us getting an expensive one.
We will put a motion on. Essentially with the, can we get it off at CoStarz or is it a?
That's CoStarz.
It's CoStarz.
Zach, yeah.
You have my report? I don't have anything additional this month.
Questions, Zach? Golf course, public course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have this on the report was the annual golf outing is the main.
July 29th.
July 29th, if, you know, I haven't finalized with them, or, you know, that would be right now, that's a tentative date. For the call in, when he hasn't returned yet. I don't know if the prices will, it didn't change last year. So if everyone's good with that, we'll try to get that all together for next month, and have that signed in and that contract done for next year.
You said the lines in the parking lot.
It's not good.
They're gonna redo.
Yeah, well, as he didn't, obviously he didn't bill me. Yeah, it's not good. There's, yeah. And so we may, you know, I might, you know, fix them ourselves for now. You know, but the only way to fix, you know, because he's 2/3 of the way through, the only way to fix it is to coat it, you know, seal it, seal coat. And you can't, you know, you shouldn't seal coat for at least a year after it's paid. So it would be, yeah, he says he'll come back next year at his cost and seal it. I'm suspecting he probably won't come back, period. But, so what to do to fix ourselves here. I mean, it works, it's functional, but when the cars aren't there and you're looking at their lines, you're like, yeah, because, yeah, there's a gap in between the two spaces. You can't put another thing, so people just park in a single row right in the middle of a lot, so. Yeah, he didn't measure out very well, so. It's not good. Yeah, the lines, like, one side's 58 feet apart, and the other side's 50 feet, so they narrow as the line goes across, so.
Need smaller cars.
Compacts on one side.
Yes,
on
they
the
got
other.
different
And what's going on with the benches?
There has been a few times, luckily we've been able to clean them up, but, you know, again, it was juveniles, they've identified who the juveniles are. I had taken photos, and the guys had taken photos, and we sent them. Because, cider with the school in that process, it hasn't happened since they've identified them, so.
It's not the same group, is it?
It is,
it?
yeah.
So it's probably the same ones that over here, you're supposed to do something golf course as well, I'd imagine, because I haven't had anything on the golf course either, so. They're definitely in that neighborhood, so.
Any other questions? Yeah. Time.
Thank you. So I'll be brief tonight as well. You do have our report, talked about curb and gutter. Gary relayed the Saturday message to Colombo, and they followed through on moving back in on Friday. There's significant updated Acorn Park design submittal is into DCNR, the bid documents and plans. Permit application is following, so that was moving along. I think aside from that, the rest of the updates are in the report. To answer questions if there are any of you else.
Anything special going on at Bliss? It seems to be kind of stagnant over there.
Slow moving, building the one line.
Yeah,
So they're gonna do a second one, did you say?
I hadn't heard they were, yeah.
I had signed a text certification letter on another lot, due to slow building, but I don't know if they've applied for a permit.
Looks like there was some market at the very bottom.
Yeah, right.
Maybe they're flattening out a lot.
Yeah, we came by last week. All I saw there was just that one house down there.
Yeah.
Nothing else really.
Yeah. And there's a lot of grass growing up by that sidewalk.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm talking.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Justin.
Yeah, a couple updates. So spoke with Geotech today about results from the Ramblewood bores. And actually it turned out a little bit better than what we thought. There's some bad material there, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. Maybe some undercut, some engineered fill in there. Still determining the extent of that undercut, but you know, I think it'll be reasonable. We just need to see how deep the EQT gas line is there, make sure we're not interfering with that. That cut would be right in that area. And then just coordinate with EQT once we know exactly how far EQT to undercut that. So pretty good news. I mean, could have been worse for sure. Next steps after we check those boxes would be to revise our conceptual plan and then get a concept over to the landowner to make sure he's signed off on everything. We can get an easement and get everything done, and we'll have to amend the MPDS permit. So that's going to push, till that's all said and done, that's going to push that project into bidding and construction next year. The other update I wanted to mention is we got the efficiency letter, administrative efficiency letter from DEP last Friday. This is for the Fish Run JPA. And there's about 5 comments. Not too terrible, but I will need some assistance from the borough getting that responsible together. And that will need to go in back into DEP this month. I need to confirm the exact date, but it'll probably be in a couple weeks. The first comment that I really need some help with is I will need a letter from the borough regarding a stormwater management analysis and just commenting on the analysis. So obviously I can't do that, but there's really no stormwater associated with this project. It is a stream restoration. So, this is part of the JPA review, not the MPDS. We do have an H&H study that could be reviewed, I guess, but I'll need to, we can talk, if you need more reach, we can talk offline, but it'll be a fairly simple review, I think. But they do need to check that box and make sure the borough is on board with that project. And then,
No, I couldn't.
Right, that's not all, there's not.
We don't like this unfunded mandate.
they're just going down the list and they're just checking the boxes, so we just need to let them. The other two comments that I'll need some assistance with are related to the easements. So this is Fish Run, and really there's only one private property that we're actually doing work on for the actual project itself. There are several that we need access easements across, but they're not concerned with that. It's more where the actual work is occurring. So there's really only two parcels where the work is occurring. One is owned by the borough, and the other, it was formerly Fisher, but I believe there's a new owner there. I don't remember his name.
Don't remember off the top of my head either. We met with them. I don't think it'll be a problem.
I agree. So really what they're looking for is, yeah, he did sign his letter of commitment for Greg Greener. So we just need proof that we either have the easement from this gentleman or are seeking the easement. That'll be an easement and also a flowage easement, because we do have a small rise on that gentleman's property, but it's contained to his property. It's, if it were significant, I would have brought it to your attention a long time ago. So I don't anticipate that being a problem for the project or for the landowner, but because we do have a rise, we will actually need a flowage easement in addition to an easement showing that the stream is being relocated on his property. So we will need to have that buttoned up. We got to move quick on that. If we can get a signature in the next 2 weeks, great. If not, we're just going to need something that convinces them that, hey, we have started this process. We've got this. And that's it.
Oh, the property owner's name is Richie.
Okay.
Good.
I wouldn't say that.
We can move on. Good. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
I did want to say that we did separate Matterhorn from Bramblewood, because the Bramblewood project, we find having to change things as we go, and we just need to show we're making some progress, because technically we're supposed to be done with all our MS4 work by the end of March of next year, and we'll be done with none of it. So we need to at least get Matterhorn out for bid this year, with work starting early next year. Maybe we don't get a cost break by combining the two, but we don't know if we would have had one.
Any other comments? This report, Aaron, welcome.
You have a copy of Lieutenant Snyder's report. The only addition I would say is that in the hiring process, this month we'll be doing the physical agility as well as interviews. And the fire department's been kind enough to let us use their facility for the interviews. So we appreciate that.
Quite welcome. We're good guys. Most of the time. Any questions?
Did you have a,
For Aaron. Oh,
Yeah.
did you have a comment about a car?
yes, did you want to talk about purchasing a couple cars?
Sure, yeah. How about we buy a couple cars? I did not see that in his letter, but yes, so the comment would probably be that we can purchase 2 vehicles. The salesman at the dealership orders every year regardless of whether we need them or not, because he can sell them to someone else. So we have the ability to purchase two vehicles at I believe it was $16,000, $8,000 a car, or is it $8,000 total?
So we can buy the 2023 models, for $40,000 each. If we wait for the 2024 models, it'll be like $48,000.
So $16,000
We'll
if,
save about $16,000 if we accept them this year.
and purchase two vehicles.
Accept them, right, they're not budgeted for, accept them.
We probably wouldn't actually give them until
Yeah, absolutely.
that's their service, so it'll be for next year's budget.
Yeah. And I think we did this I
We-
sort of
we
said
do it
it'd be
every
like
year.
a recurring fee. Yes.
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
have two vehicles that need replaced.
A couple more years. Jim usually has something.
They do, you mentioned irrigation was good, it wasn't so good yesterday.
For buying stream health.
No more.
Yeah,
It's all downstream now.
Questions? Max?
You have my written report. We did get the 3 exemptions granted from Allegheny County. We are trying to track down the actual notices though, because we got the refund checks, but have not been notified that they were going. But that goes out filed, give you the tax collector going forward as well. That one, and then we have a couple items later to talk about street opening ordinance and the work of lanes.
Aaron, open that cabinet door and. Lost my picture.
Dawn was trying to save me from hitting my head. She told me move closer, please. About 1,000.
So, and we're right on the street.
There you go.
So.
Yes.
next.
So yeah, I believe this was in your packets a couple months ago, but Gary and Sean and I took some time to review it and make some corrections and changes and talk about this is what we need for borough streets. It's in a format and an area where we think is good and is open for discussion or consideration. It is not a land use ordinance, it involves streets, so it does not require planning commission review or a public hearing or the county. So it is ready. The next other part of it is determining the amounts of certain fees, which is part of the annual fee resolution. One thing to consider is the current fee resolution has a complete exemption for municipal authorities in terms of paying fees. Isn't required, it's part of our.
It doesn't make sense.
Especially when they're. I think in just talking to them, they pay the fees elsewhere if things come up.
I think, yeah, Ross and all of them, I think they pay fees and all that.
They don't need it. We need to get rid of it. But I have to say the ordinance itself was really, really well done. Thank you so much for the work that everybody did. You know, you rarely get one draft like this is really good. So great job.
That was Anna Hosiak in our office did the first one, and we did the cleanup, and it was a team effort to make sure it made sense. There were a couple things we had to square away, but it is ready. If council has no other comments or changes, it can be introduced for action at the October meeting. And you're sort of feeding into the fee resolution. I think December, is that when we?
Normally we do.
December and slide to
Then you show
January.
me.
Usually done after the first.
But I say definitely go with the ordinance, it's really, it's open, I'm sure it's been a long time coming, we've been getting beaten up, so it's fine, yeah, it's good.
On that note, do you want to talk about the stormwater?
So, this one, I just had a couple of questions, I'm sure the reason, but, we had talked about doing something to make certain that if developers were causing this type of stuff, that there was some bonding or maintenance or something to kind of protect the taxpayers from the expense that was being caused from the stormwater conditions that they were working on, especially underground storage. So I didn't see bonding and maintenance in there. I'm thinking this was a draft that we were just working towards.
Yeah, I mean, this was the one that came out of the land use committee, but I know that discussion sort of continued on as the, doing a survey on what others have sort of on the agenda for the next meeting.
This is going in the right directions for sure. There's no question about it. It's just, we really want to make certain that we do something up for protecting. This is an expense that I don't think we should be passing on to the taxpayers and to our, to our borough, to the extent that we do something legally. We talked about there probably are things, and we would look at it. But also this is also triggering, I think this, the way it is right now, is okay to move on. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is only addressing underground detention facilities. The discussion was larger on just any type of facilities and considering long-term operations.
Which could be an umbrella for stormwater.
It would cover this too. This is number 7 of the list of different means and methods for controlling stormwater. So, and this also does not require public hearing and extra work. So it's a typical ordinance. There is an expense for doing the legal ad, but it's
Did everybody like it? Did they think it was?
I don't quite understand what you were getting at, Brian. You're not passing it on to the taxpayer.
Oh, yeah.
The cost for doing this?
No, not this. No. If they were doing something in order to remediate stormwater, like the underground storage tanks, we've talked about before, where at some point those are going to go bad, that somebody has to do something about it, and the contract, the developers may be long gone out of the scene. So we discussed, is it possible to have some type of bond or some type of financing in place to cover those long-term costs past their, their life expectancy of 10 or 15 years or whatever. That's what I was getting at, not this. There's nothing going on here.
For an example, the requirement that there be a 48-inch minimum manhole cover with stairs is quite an expense. I called Andy today. I said, help me with this. We have one at the fire company. It was put in there 4 years ago, and it's 38 inches. I went over and measured them because I was kind of curious. It's 38 inches, and of course they don't have a ladder. I didn't look. I don't think they do. So that's a big difference. But that cost is going to go to the builder, and he's going to pass it on to the homeowner. Okay.
No, homeowners, but that's how development works, right? You come in and that's expected. What I'm talking about is long term. Now all of a sudden we've bought maintenance costs in the borough itself. If the developer's bond, that's all I'm talking about. That's all I'm getting at.
The stormwater authority picked that up?
That's it. I mean, it dovetails into that discussion. It's
40 years down the road,
but they might,
might be something that's better there than trying to bond and set up escrows it could be quite a number of years before that money would.
It's triggered and working while it's sitting. I understand. I think the way it is right now, where we're talking later on about an umbrella, this one is fine.
This is just filling the gap that we don't have requirements for underground facilities, as we saw with Cardinal Ridge. We just referenced it, but that was it. So we looked around and Amlis had a model, and here are some of these standards, including the manhole requirement. That other question, has issues with the stormwater authority and dedicate all of our stormwater infrastructure and easements to them, or give them some type of license or something that would transfer potentially. question of, does the borough want to take over these? We sort of unofficially take it over a lot. We recognize we're the last resort. DP comes after somebody, it's gonna be after us. So that's part of the land use committee's task of figuring out.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, I want to take the opposite view. I don't think the stormwater authority should. My recommendation is not to have the stormwater authority overtake that or deal with it. Primarily because we're setting that up to deal with all the aging infrastructure and whatnot. This thing came up because of the conversations we had about Cardinal Ridge. The borough is legally not on the hook primarily, but the DEP will be looking for the borough to deal with it when there is a mess. So the engineer, just want to point out, the engineer that did validate this design, these are rated 50 years, but he did concede that these will probably last 25 years. So part of the bonding is to kind of hold like some sort of escrow to deal with having this remediated later on. Very likely that the developers not be involved 25 years from now. They'll probably have sold this off to another investor, and it'll be a mess for the borough kind of like remediate later on.
We take other fees, right, when we're doing developers maybe like a fee. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Could we maybe come up with something based on the total cost or expense of the stormwater, the facility? It would just be a fee that they would pay.
And that's when we're doing the survey and see what others.
So maybe that's where we go.
Percentage, is it just a flat amount?
Yeah.
What is the percentage? What is the amount?
So that's maybe where we go, and that would be an umbrella over the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
We have a lot of things that we take over after the developer leaves, the streets, the curbs. We take over a lot of the infrastructure. I think the key today is to be certain it's built correctly, it's installed properly. If it's going to be one of the open detentions, that it has the proper aggregate and fill and everything's set right. We found a lot of them that weren't even built according to the plans, like the one over by the golf course.
That's fine, but like you're taking an optimal scenario here, right? It also involves inspection enforcement, and we don't have the ability to inspect every single aspect of it. These are things that can happen. I mean, my biggest concern is when the engineer himself says they're rated for 50 years, but they're realistically going to last 25. That right there is the hint that you're probably going to have a problem earlier than you should. It's just an opportunity to take a look at how can we get ahead of this. And if we can see what other municipalities have.
The other question is, how many of these are we really going to have? We have mostly open detention ponds.
True. This is rare. This is not a normal design.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the update to the stormwater ordinance recognizes, like you said, this is something that we haven't done before, and we've got kind of framework in which to work with. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be closing the barn door up and cows out, and that could be the only one that ever comes up in, but just in case, you don't want to get caught a second time.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Live and learn.
With those comments, I'm good with the stormwater. Everybody else thinks it's a good start.
You said the manual requirements can.
It also makes it easier to get there and maintain, right? Because you can help every good climb.
Yeah, safety issue.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because if we're doing it, we want our people to be safe.
Any other discussion?
So which is.
Yeah, introduce, on the 20th for action over.
Great.
We haven't assigned numbers yet, so we'll assign numbers. We have a lot of ordinances being introduced.
Yeah.
Bring my book closet.
Okay, moving right along, manager.
Hey, Northland Library, budget is in the packet. Our increase for 2024 is 4.1%. Overall, I think municipal increase was 3.3, but because of the three-factor formula, ours was a little bit higher than that this year. It varies from year to year. Some years we've been down. So,
That's not to be approved by all municipalities.
Right.
Not it goes back to.
Correct.
Yeah.
this current year's budget.
current year's budget, which was last year's budget, but also because the panels didn't approve it. And so,
Northland got a $500,000 grant recently from the state. That's gotta help them.
Specifically for capital projects.
Yeah, which is once they presented to us about the stairway and the outside, the area for the kids.
They're already under, I'm not sure you're they're facing a lot of cuts. It's
Yeah, they,
computer staff.
they're so far down the staff that they cut hours because of it. Okay, next, Bradford Woods has made a request that, want to know if we are interested in covering their zoning code enforcement for them. Talked to Tim and Andy, and we think it's something that we could take on. It's not a whole lot of hours. We can decide what we want to charge them, but it's a chance to do a favor for a neighboring municipality.
And so what, 17 so far this year, and don't do the
Pretty quiet.
the paperwork.
in turn, they have to make a donation to the ambulance.
I was gonna say that.
The reason if it makes sense to you, I guess it's okay. When I
Yeah.
first looked at it, I was thinking, boy, we seem to have enough trouble covering all the work that we have to do for enforcement or whatever, but if it's not.
It seems like it's something.
I think it was mostly for permits, not for really enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very little.
They thought the property maintenance code.
And, yeah, there's no development. But
Not much land there.
They're gonna reimburse us.
we have to decide what the fee is about.
I gotta think there's a model agreement out there, and we're missing it. Too uncommon for things to chair.
Small. Where are they from?
Yes. LA produces engineer. It's,
We'll come up with something. We have to the end of the year.
Don't know how much we're charging.
They could always. do something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. to do.
Talk to Marcia. Yeah, that's the way it works.
And we received a letter from Girl Scouts that it was obviously a project for an award. And I'm guessing they probably get rated on how many replies they get, so it seems like they probably should respond, even though I'm sure they send it out to every municipality, probably in the state. So I could draft a response to it. Basically says that we appreciate your concern for the environment. This is an issue that needs to be tackled at a higher level.
Probably we don't have 3.3 billion living in the United States like the letter said.
Yeah.
Population's gone up, so it's not 3.3 billion.
It's 400 million.
Deer culling program. Do we want to move forward with our own signing hunters, or do we want to take?
I think we have to move forward with something. It's interesting what the city did this past week, thrown out there.
Yeah.
That's a unique and different approach.
What if they do?
They're going to allow archery within the city parks during a couple of periods, but the park will be closed to all visitors during those times in which they allow hunting. And they will give the first deer to Light Life or whoever, and then the second deer they keep. And it's an interesting approach. It seems like it could be effective, but of course, there's going to be people who will protest. I mean, that's going to be loud and clear. They will protest.
And there'll be signed waivers, obviously, because getting shot by an arrow by a fellow hunter is one of the major risks of hunting in a closed park, chasing the same deer. So they,
At least one council member has already said, well, you kill them, can we just sterilize them? Our EAC are doing sterilization, which is really expensive and not very. No, there are no.
Yeah. But I think we still move ahead with ours.
We'll figure out internally how we proceed with qualifying hunters and assign them.
I think we have to. I mean, it's a major problem.
We can't do any worse than last year.
My backyard is a petting zoo.
what did they say? Well, they figure out the safe places to hang. They're smart.
They moved the house.
That's right. They're staying away from the parks because they feel it's.
I mean, they're beautiful, I love them.
Moving forward then.
No,
see how-
and about it there, and can we, can I say, can we follow up with the city to see, whether their strategy works? Work then.
Monitor it, I think you would say. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
if it works, we can use the same strategy,
Yeah.
and just close the park or just make the talk to the, and.
We're actually doing more than this. We're not closing our parks. We're putting hunters there, not for limited hours or limited days, but whenever they want to be there.
Give them a chance.
So we're doing a lot more than this.
And also regarding the protest, and you know that today, people can protest whatever they want, and so we just need to move forward.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's nothing that you can stop them, and, because, you know, freedom of speech is, you know, it's important.
I will say, their model, what they're doing, they do in Eastern PA, where we'll throw 100 hunters in the woods and shut it down for 2 days and call it a deer call. And met with a lot of opposition. It does get results, but it's.
And somebody said in the Pittsburgh issue that they heard you have to call 80% of the herd in any given year to have it. That's a lot of dead deer.
Yeah.
80% have it.
I'm not coming back on that.
Wonder if that's something with that, basically.
Oh, yeah, let's not go there.
So the deers that go coach, that would feed a lot of hungry people, I think, if you got that many deer too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would feed a lot of people.
Yeah, okay. All right. Everybody's agreed, we're going in. Very simple request.
Yep, initially, when we were going to, repave Georgetown Drive, he said he would take care of the concrete curb, and then we would take care of the repaving, the concrete curb, and being a whole lot more than he thought it would be. So he came in and gave us an invoice for $66,000. He said he'd pay $5,000, but he was hoping we could pay the rest. Reimbursing, wow.
They can't possibly.
And you
do-
can't.
There's no way. You
I
can't
would be
do-
the bad guy. But, you know,
That would be
it's-
the most favorization approach to.
Yeah.
having worked without a bid.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You got the wages, you got all sorts
And
of,
it's
so
a,
you
it's
can
a
give
third
them,
of our budget.
You know, that's the other problem.
you can give them a letter saying, thank you for the donation and write it
For
on.
tax,
your-
yeah, yes.
Okay.
You did a good job, I'll say that.
Why did you offer to do that initially?
To get the street.
They probably,
Well, he came to me last fall and asked if if Georgetown was on the paving list. I told him, no, it wasn't. And he said, well, we got a lot of taxpayers here that pay good money, and we'd like to make this, to show everything over here, start, keeping it, making it look good, he wanted to, bring everything back up to the original specs or whatever to make it look good. So he came back to me in the springtime and asked again about it, and I said, well, it's not on the list, but we have Inglemoor Heights, it's probably gonna come off the list. I said, that's up to council when we do our road tour. So when we did the road tour, because we took that off, that was mentioned, we rode that, and everybody says, yeah, let's go ahead, and he offered at that time, stating that he was gonna take care of the concrete work. I don't believe at that time he was thinking the volume that was going on there.
He said when he got into it, he found that, he sort of actually had 2 rebar bars in it, not just one. It was hard to get the second one, so they had to do larger sections in order to make it work. It's too hard to do smaller sections.
Well, when he started on over here, the whole one side was pretty in bad shape. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm thinking, man, he's biting off a lot, by saying he's gonna do this. Now, he never one time during this concrete, the whole time the concrete was being done over there, never one time came to me and said, hey, this is too much for me to handle. Can you go to council or somebody to talk to him? And nothing was ever said. So, I mean, not that would even work, but I'm just saying, nothing was ever said. And he kept going with the concrete, and that's what happened. And, and I kept looking at it thinking, wow, you know, I mean, he did bite off a lot. Cause he said he kept hammering it, and when he was hammering it, it's slowly falling apart in other areas too, which probably was, because it was bad on that one side.
The most birds, if you don't bid them, you can.
Yeah, there's probably close to 900 feet of constant further. Anywhere between 800 and 900 feet.
I think we have to just be careful if somebody offers to do something on our infrastructure for us. I think we have to be clear that it's a donation going in. And we, on our tour, we talked about it. He wanted to pay, and he was willing to incentivize us to move it up. Actually, the paving was from the church on out. Well, that did need to be repaved. So we weren't really jumping out of order too much. But I guess my point is that we probably, it doesn't sound like you were clear to him, or I'm not pointing the finger at you personally here.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey, this is a lot of work. You understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at, like I said, when I told you spot down on the road tour, I said, hey, he told me he's willing to do the concrete curves. And, you know, and that's, you know.
That sounds like you said.
Because I understand we have no choice.
Good, you get your auditor surcharging you for it, but you violated borough code.
Okay, yeah. you don't have
Hey,
a choice.
other than that,
Essentially saying your hands are legally tied.
Grant funding opportunities, potential projects.
We've got two tight deadlines here. We've got CDBG, grant available. The deadline is September 15th. Actually, the deadline for me to get it to the COG is this Friday for them to review it and then submit it on our behalf. Because if you are a COG member, then CDBG grant applications do go through the COG. So we need a project that is basically ready to go right now. I was considering the Montgomery Road flooding project. CEC has already done the design for that. They're working on the cost estimate for that now. You may recall 3 times in 2019, 4 houses got flooded on their basements pretty badly. Since then, we've added a catch basin and we've increased the curb, but we haven't done anything else. And CEC has taken a look and they determined that we could increase the size of the pipe. The downstream can handle that, especially since we're doing MS4 work down further downstream, and also making some improvements to the berm of the, I'll call it a detention facility, although it isn't one right at the bend. And I'm doing some landscaping on that. So I thought that would be a good project to apply for the grant. The work probably wouldn't be done until 2025. So we have some time to budget for that.
Can you get it done by Friday?
We have the drawings already ready. This is a pre-app, and then the application itself isn't due until November with additional information. So we'll have sufficient information by Friday to get it to the COG. And again, we won't have to worry about budgeting this in 2020. We also have the GEDTF grant deadline of September 23rd, I believe. That's a pretty,
I think it's the 22nd.
22nd, high turnaround time there. Again, there are 2 projects that are underway that I think maybe we could apply for some additional funding. One is the Acorn Park project, and one is the Public Works Garage. In both, we've received some funding, but we have substantial expense on our part. And this will be a chance to help offset some of our expense.
Any reason not
And
to
we've
go
already
for
got, again, we've already got the financials in place and the drawings in place, and it's just simply submitting the grant application.
Who's that grant through region this time?
DTF. One of the questions I did have is another project that potentially could go under GDPF is Montgomery water line extension. And that brings up a whole issue of it. It would be a water district. The property owners would be responsible for paying. Do we want to have any kind of procedure in the future? Will we help offset part of the cost of the water district? Or are we even allowed to legally? Because according to the information we got from Westview Water, this water district would cost each homeowner $30,000. even though the majority of them won't be tapping in or won't want to tap in. The last water district we did 10 years ago was about $15,000.
This is open up that area for development if they're doing.
No. It's nowhere
It's
close.
just private.
There is no, it's,
Only from McAleer Road up to the.
it's
bottom.
flood, it's not even immaculate. It's to the last house on,
Royal
on Montgomery.
So it's supposed to serve those homes.
Just those 10 homes, it doesn't go any further. Yeah, that's it. And that's all in the floodplain down there anyway, so it can't be developed.
We looked at Penvest, but that's been a loan.
That's a loan.
Lower one, so the only thing I think of perhaps just grant issues of, is that a public project, even though it is with us behind it and putting it in, it's for the benefit of 10 residents that are paying back the money.
And that's,
that would
yeah, that, it's, I mean, obviously they wouldn't be paying back, but grant.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, would they sometimes, like, when we do the demolition CDBG, we put the lien up, that lien gets paid, we pay back the loan, the grant later. So they do something similar. If property owners pay back, you know, we take some questions or, I don't know, maybe they, is it a gaming fund?
Yes.
Yeah, so they've been around since 2005 or so, maybe they have other ones that they've done, water districts,
Yeah,
maybe sewer lines, and that,
maybe too tight to buy for any charge.
yeah.
But at some point, we will need to
Do,
do
yeah.
something because, the last house on the line. We've already talked about the issues before and. There are wells. Okay, Oh. Are we still following our COVID policy? If anybody's back or one of our employees has been potentially exposed?
I don't think we ever officially rescinded it or anything like that. We talked with Alex.
But we never did, so the September 22 policy.
So, President, what is it?
Man, very generous in terms of,
Come to work as a mask.
having worked and, yeah.
But then if somebody tests positive, we're going to pay them to stay home.
And they didn't change the police part along, that would not, didn't have a time period and a termination date wasn't tied to the emergency declaration, so that just not there. On the police policy. Yeah, time to dust it off. It's three, never been dusted.
Never held.
I recommend you just rescind it. I mean, anymore. It seems like the code is more like the flu.
That's exactly right. What do we do for flu? Nothing.
Ages of that. No, it was, doesn't have its own policy.
I think for now.
Most people have sick leave if they do get sick. You need to take time off. I would think unless there's some sort of a government mandate that we have to do something exceptional.
But
Except for.
we can't, if somebody has positive for COVID, but doesn't have any symptoms and isn't sick, and force them to stay home and sick leave? Probably not.
They don't have symptoms right now, it's just like they're doing max. It's only if you.
Right,
They test positive.
That's.
right. I understand that, but we're talking about just rescinding the whole thing and just saying it's like a illness. And what I'm saying that is, are we okay with somebody that's positive that doesn't have symptoms to come to work and just work with them?
Or even comes and has some symptoms, how many people come with symptoms? Officer otherwise. I mean, I think the concern with COVID is how quickly it spread and.
How much money that costs when it spreads everywhere. Because I think each of the variants and strains manage to dominate based on their ability to spread, not necessarily about the symptoms, but how quickly it can spread to the population. Older variants, I mean, the most recent variants that took over are much quicker to spread through a population.
Right now,
John Lee, what's your thought?
That's, actually, and, our university has a policy just like, if the people is tested positive and he or she is kind of required to put a mask on for 5 days, but that person doesn't need to take a day off. And, but she, as I said, that person is required to put a mask on. The purpose of doing that is to protect other people, not like protect that person. So I think that it's time to change some, policy and to let it kind of loose a little bit. So so I think that to ask that person to take some day off and not a good option right now. Because as Tom was said, and why not COVID-19 more like a different type of flu, but it seems to be more severe than the regular flu, and so we still need to pay attention just to protect the other people.
So you're recommending essentially we continue the existing policy?
Put the mask on.
Put the mask on at least for 5 days,
which is what we.
and but not exactly take the day off.
Can I ask a question? Because I've heard not here, but people saying, I'm not even gonna test anymore. It's like the flu, we don't test every time we get sick, I'm not gonna test. So right now, the policy states that you must test. So that's my question, because if you have people who are saying, I'm not gonna test. So then they're not testing, how can you tell them? They have to wear
Testing
it?
is optional. So there is, so far, I think that people are not required to get tested, but if they report to the, Borough and so, and that person is required to put the mask on for 5 days.
We'll go with what we have right now and monitor it, see what happens. If we have another big outbreak where everybody else is panicking. And this was passed on down to us originally. So if suddenly the county is enforcing some kind of new rules and regulations.
We should step back to those things and masking for 5 days is a bad.
Well, no, but here's the deal, if you haven't tested, I'm just sick, I got sniffle, whatever the hell. We tell everybody that's coughing or sneezing or drooling, put your mask on for 5 days. Is that where we want to go with it? It's nobody's gonna test. That's not-
That was like, everybody thought that was what was gonna come out of the pandemic. But,
Yeah.
If you had sniffles.
There you go.
But then
Yeah.
it didn't.
Yeah.
You needed a ball there or something.
I mean, at this point, it's voluntary anyway. An employee could be exposed to COVID and not even tell anybody at work because they have no symptoms. Why would we bring this issue up where they have to wear a mask to work? And all that stuff?
Understood as a, for now.
Yeah,
Just leave it the way
I
it
think
is.
if somebody's willing to say it because they're concerned about their fellow employees and they're gonna matter. I think we should do it.
You got this new variant that's out there that they're talking about, you don't know how that's going to impact.
Because it takes time and you can't trace variants over 2 weeks or 3. It doesn't give you any information. You have to wait and see. That's the problem.
All good, same page, all right. And then report from Councilman Brian.
Lindy's meeting, October 6th, be there, be square. I think that's right, right?
Is that?
October 4th, yeah, October 4th, the land meeting, yeah. And then I'm not gonna be at the next council meeting, the voting meeting, because I'm gonna go see my wife get an award for her public service award.
Congratulations.
Hey, Brian, I couldn't get you down in 10. What's October 4th?
The land use committee meeting,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Be there or be square.
You day.
Yeah, just, not much, just, want to reiterate, so, along with the budget discussions, in the next month, if everybody can come up with one idea, that'd be good.
Thanks, you, Dan, I like that.
Yes. Give a month. Yeah, that's it.
Mayor.
Yeah, I just have one thing, and, I'm gonna solicit Andy for some help with this one too, but I went out Sunday, August 27th in the morning, and on Rochester Road, I don't know what the whole, I have no idea. But there had to be 300, 400, 500, I don't know,
Oh, the
bicycles.
Yeah. Pedal Pittsburgh. It was Pedal Pittsburgh.
Well, the thing is, they consume Rochester Road.
Yeah, and they told you to be 4 foot, give them 4 foot, but there's no way I'm not just.
I mean, I couldn't, I mean, I was just stuck behind them. And because they just consumed a whole lane. And I'll tell you what, there was, when you got some vision on distance, there's all bicycles.
That's those pink signs are.
Little signs were all about arrows pointing in the wrong direction.
Well, I'm just putting it, I have no idea, what was the event? What was the?
Capping us were
Pedal
Pedal
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh or something?
Pedal Pittsburgh.
Pedal Pittsburgh.
And who sponsored it?
I'm trying to think, but they had 5 different courses. I was gonna say, UPMC was the signs. There's 5 different courses, different lengths. I'm guessing this was the longest course. But they put up the signs on a lot of the state signs going down Rochester Road. We had noticed it early the week before, and that's when I saw Pedal Pittsburgh, looked it up. And, it's just a bad road to do it on.
It is. If you were in the city,
Yeah.
you would see all 5 cars before you get out. It's just-
Right.
There were no sign permit applications turned in. And the state has recently started a crackdown on illegal signs. I just got an 80-page handbook via email the other day. Literally, the state was audited by the federal government, and they were told they were not keeping the illegal signs down like they should be. So how we interact with them, our municipality has very good sign ordinances. The state will not issue a permit for a sign to go on a public easement, without us issuing ours first. So if we haven't issued the permit, we know the state hasn't. And it's an illegal sign, it will be removed. They did not come back and collect their own signs. I had to take them down. They gave them the benefit of the doubt this year. Next year, when they go up, they go down.
You mean like
They
these,
have the permits.
you talking about these signs would be illegal next year?
They were illegal this year. We gave
Or they
them the
were
benefit of
illegal
the
this
doubt.
year?
Since it's an organization that would come and pick up their own trash, they did not. The signs are still up all over McMillan's. I told them down the other day. But next year, on Discovery, just like any other sign, they're gonna disappear.
Were the signs warning to people that live in the area that this is gonna happen?
No, it's just a circle with arrows.
It's
No idea.
It had arrows and very small, it said Pedal Pittsburgh. I stopped at a stop sign. That was the only. In the direction.
Which way to go.
Yeah.
They include,
They
yeah.
do in the city here.
Yeah.
Because without them, they'd be randomly throughout the borough everywhere.
Which they will be. We're pulling down the signs.
Turn them 90 degrees. When you go to the website, they can find it all the signs with the GPS. They don't need the signs. Follow their GPS.
It's too crazy. And the thing was, they were in here, they weren't even, they were at some intersections, but mostly they were just in places where you had nowhere to go but straight. It made no sense.
They don't have to let us know how to.
They have to legally, by the state law, they have to get a permit.
I mean, just for the actual use of it. Yeah.
Well, if we know where they are, maybe we should give them a warning now, if they're waiting for next year to have the same problem. A letter or something? We noticed you were in our neighborhood.
It's 80 pages. Didn't read.
No.
the week
The
before.
fight was literally- Yeah.
A couple hours. Maybe
The
an
event
hour,
was from
an
like
hour.
9 to 3 or 9.
So
They
they
were
did
trying to
contact
park
your department.
No,
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Sure, slow cycles.
So have you guys received any call regarding this event?
no.
I'm
Oh,
just saying, you know, it's just, I know it's
not so bad.
a matter of maybe they weren't here that long, but at the same time, I can tell you that if I had an emergency, I don't know what, I guess maybe I went over the other lane, hope another car wasn't coming because it is a curvy road. You know, in my opinion, it presented a dangerous situation if somebody had an emergency and had to get over the other lane and try to get past them because there was no end to these bikes.
They need to do some better. They need to
So-
put it in.
That's all.
Well, you notify them. Not happy. Doing these, they're not.
Do we know who to notify, you know?
I don't
I'll settle Pittsburgh.
I just have one thing that, we have talked about this 10-year stormwater and oil and plan budget. We want to charge our residents, like, you know, household, like, kind of $100 per year or something. So my question would be always like, when people receive it, you know, some notice or bill from the borrower, they always ask question why they need to pay. What this, you know, payment was used for. So shall we like the borrower like start doing something like at least to educate residents, you know, while we have this one and what we want to use the money for and what is the plan and it looks like it's suddenly and we're doing something for the next 10 years. And because we have, for the last how many years, the Borough has never done anything related to this. So what is the kind of like rationale behind this? And how do you explain, you know, why you want to charge me like $100 per year? And because most of people like me, if I'm not sitting here, I don't understand at all like what this is for. I don't have any stormwater, you know, issue, and so and also like the community that I live in and also doesn't show any like, you know, develop any issue why I need to pay for that. So the majority of people will ask this kind of like same question. How to address this one? How to make it sound like at least reasonable? Or something like that.
Good point. I think effective communication. So that is an important issue.
Yeah, we probably borrow and especially and I'm thinking that the borrow website may have something like specific for this purpose. Like, you know, when people try to find the answer for this, and they can just click something and there will be some information, you know, related to, you know, how to some sort of like explanation. And especially for, I think it's good idea if that one this payment come with that the property and something like that in the mail. But the problem is still when people receive that one, they will have like suddenly and they just sounds like to me and it comes from nowhere. People have to, you know, pay even not as much, but still people, you know, I have quite big question about it.
I think Reed, you had a bunch of ideas about getting people up to speed on why we're doing this and website updates and newsletter stuff, and I think we've started to do some educating of our folks. I don't know if it's, getting.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get people reading.
That's exactly right. I mean, I saw the latest piece. Yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah,
That thing was great.
it was very good.
Well received. Everybody I thought.
I mean, it was really a nice publication. My wife said, "There a QR code you can click on so you can avoid getting these papers later." I said, "Yeah, there's one in there that you can hit the QR code. Maybe it should be on the front page." But I don't think they would have cared. I don't think it would have made any difference if I would put on the front page. If you want to get electronic links, time click it. People like paper. They want paper.
Anything else, John?
Yes, that's it.
I think that's a good point. I think that if that's gonna happen, there's probably gonna be, the authority will probably send out a letter with the first bill explaining what's going on. But I think putting something on the website, sure, Dawn, when she does a newsletter, once we know the details, we'll probably have that very well.
It's a monthly digital newsletter too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have their own.
And I think remember Fraser County historically,
people? We have like
Kansas
40
went
people.
through this, and they informed their citizens.
No, they have.
It wasn't,
No.
who, was it somebody, there was somebody who thought you.
As a team, certainly would let people know before.
Yeah.
I mean, we just decided tonight that we're gonna.
That's right, yeah.
Ways to go.
McKinnon's has a sport page,
Mhm.
tells you all about it and stuff.
Yeah, we'll probably also need to have a kind of like specific page or some information.
Yeah, I think we
that
can
you
go
can
ahead.
easily, get access to and then look for some information.
Other than that, I think there's two compliments to the park. I just in the last couple of weeks, I spent some time at Blueberry Hill, the patch, and liked the new cover and hated the lantern flies. They were like everywhere. We're just like, it was about 6 of us under the new covers, but the lantern flies are probably 600 of them on the road. So hopefully that problem will go away, and I know the borough can't do much about that. The only thing I noticed, I was also over at Old Orchard the other day. I guess it was Monday afternoon. I noticed that on the building, it's like some of the finish on the woodwork, not underneath the hood ring, it's pretty nice. But the fascia board and the little like cupola vent at the top, it's like all discolored, like it's the varnish is coming off, and I don't know, it might be something to do a maintenance at least on parts of that before it starts getting through the finish and into the woods. I just happen to be sitting way over at the corner looking back, and when you're under that thing, it's a beautiful enclosure, but you look around the perimeter and you look up on the roof where the vent is up through, and it's starting to not weather very well. So that would be something we can probably a day or so's worth of maintenance might get off some wood rotting out. But anyway, kudos to the park. They both look really good. And my little grandson was playing the chimes over there. They're not very loud. Very nice addition to put something there that kids can play with. That was it, John.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Luke?
Nothing for me.
I do have one thing. A year or so ago, the fire company researched and agreed that they would start billing for certain types of incidences through a firm by the name of PA Fire Recovery Service. And we're now at the point where we can do that. And there are a number of questions that surround that, but one of which is, it is a lot easier to be able to bill insurance companies. Some mandate that the borough actually have an ordinance that allows it. Now, it's allowed by state law, as I understand it, but it helps in the process if the borough has an ordinance that specifically says we accept the fire companies doing billing on behalf of their incidences. We won't bill for all incidents by any stretch. It'll only be a certain few, and maybe Andy, you can a little bit of this.
The intention is primarily interstate calls, non-borough residents. We're not interested in any way, shape, or form of invoicing a borough resident for anything. They support us already as volunteers, but we have a really nice, relatively, I guess you'd say, rural setting, but we have all the commercial traffic. So that's what we're trying to get ahead on. Like we just spent today down on the interstate, 2 calls. One at 7:20 this morning, that created a backup. We then had a house fire. And it was immediately back out for a secondary accident to the first accident because the backup hadn't cleared yet. We wanted another thing when we were down there till 10:30. So that's all type of stuff that we can invoice the insurance carriers for those vehicles on the road. So we of course have to do a lot of talking about it at the fire company. It's a difficult thing for a number of members of the volunteer company to say they want to do. As volunteers, they don't feel we should be in the building business. At the same time, we have a certain responsibility to raise the funds as much as we can. And this is something that the state put in place to help the volunteer fire. That's why we're trying to start this off now with just the non-borough residents and primarily just the interstate. Now, if we would have a huge tractor trailer accident on Rochester Road, we would probably look at that type of thing. But that's what we're looking at right now. Because you folks are very good with us, the residents are very good with us. We need to, in my personal opinion, pull up our end and bring as much money to the table as we can as well. So that's pretty much where we are.
Max.
Yes.
The point there in part being that we're, as taxpayers, paying for an accident that somebody doesn't have any part of Franklin Park. And this is a way in which maybe we can help us a little bit with that. And
I get it. The kind of equal protection thing kind of raises its head for me. I don't know if that's appropriate or not to discuss here, but it feels like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
anytime, and well, treat people the same, not having a distinction between resident and non-resident. If it's the same conduct, the resident who crashes on the interstate, justified basis, rational basis for charging somebody else versus charging.
There is,
but I don't know if it is equally sufficient, and those taxes also, it's not specific if you also are a member of the fire company paying set it out. So I just am looking up the act and might address it. There could be limitations on who you can assess it to or otherwise. Just want to see what we would need to do in terms of an ordinance. Makes sense.
It's being done on that basis by a lot of fire companies.
Interesting. And you said there's already state law that authorizes the billing for certain pass-through charges to like insurance companies.
Yeah,
but
that's who's gonna.
But anecdotally, you're hearing that if a borough has some kind of ordinance that mirrors the state, that the insurance company is more likely to pick up.
There are some insurance companies that won't accept the invoice without that ordinance. Well, the majority do is to some exception.
I know Collier Township for 9 years that they've been billing down there when I was there. And if an insurance company didn't pay, they just didn't. But no majority, you're recouping some of your costs back.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
It was all strictly interstate. We would do
Do
down.
they differentiate, Jim, between?
No, it was just if it was an interstate incident.
Didn't matter,
Right. Because it's not going on the individual person, it's going to their insurance. And obviously they're part of a greater accident, whose fault has nothing to do with us, but the insurance companies cover the cost. The tow companies always, I know even down there here, they help, because they bill as well, they get their stuff recovered, they get their oil dries and everything, so, they give back to us, as well, I think they do here too. Our state, the flares and all that kind of stuff that we use, the state police will give it to us.
To the extent people are driving with the no fault car insurance, doesn't matter who the hell, there's a certain amount of money that comes up right away.
I mean, the first article here on firehouse.com, about proposal, and this was 2019, the insurance companies were raising issues of why is it only for people that have insurance? What happens if someone doesn't have insurance, doesn't cover it? and similar to the resident versus non-resident.
It's a different argument, but
It's
it's.
definitely worth looking into, and we do have the fire, house fire, escrow ordinance that we've had in the last year or so, set up the process that the insurance is paid to the borough, actually closing one out right now that the house has been fixed. We had $100,000, just being held as a security for it being done, so similar to that, but yeah, we can definitely look at whatever the.
I have a couple of sample orders and I'll send them to you. And we are ready to go. We're set up, ready to go. We're looking at a couple of recent incidences, ones that we're gonna submit, so, you just wanna be sure.
So you're able to handle that administratively?
Yeah, we're gonna use a service. We'll pay a 15% price for them doing it, but we have to gather the data, which is significant. This is not an easy thing, and it's gonna be an additional requirement on the firefighter to gather this information, because they're talking about significant amount of data. And then we send it to them and they do the process, so.
The process being they chase down the insurance companies and fight with them to get the money for the reimbursement, right?
Yeah,
Because that's not what you want to be doing. You don't want to be on the phone with insurance companies.
that's not our cup of tea. They're experts at it. They have
Yeah.
municipalities all over the state doing that.
Got it.
We just get all the information from the state police on scene, because he's gathering what he can, we just get whatever he can get for us. He get off his report.
Yeah.
You don't be rummaging through their car trying to find their one in the ambulance, and you're always their glove box with their insurance card.
Mhm.
We take the police to have him do that, give the information to him.
I guess it remains whether or not there's an issue about equal protection.
And it looked like it was a problem that a lot of insurance policies excluded fees for other services, so the insurance wouldn't even need to fill it. So the suggestion would change the insurance law to say you have to have a portion of your policy cover this payment. And also said they were objecting, not so much to an ordinance, but they just needed some, many insurance companies will refuse to pay absent some legal proof that the fire company is designated by a government entity as a provider of public services. We did go through our annual resolution.
That's right.
Anyhow, I'll send you a copy
Yeah.
of what I have. The company's done. Gotcha.
And the thing about the equal protection is what's actually written, the issue is raised by what's actually written in the ordinance, if there's a distinction being made. It's not in the application of it.
It could be both.
Okay.
As applied
Yeah.
or
As applied.
facial.
But it'd be nice if we could just rely on the state law, whatever it is, and our yearly indication that the fire company is doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, we do have an executive session.
Just a reminder with our emergency drill, which one's that?
Well, the training information, in the packet.